Alright, in this video we're going to be taking a look at orthographic views, which is a standard representation of an object on a sheet. Uh, these views are created by looking at three different planes: the top, the front, and the side plane. I'll show you before we start here. So the object we're going to draw, keep this in mind, looks like this. It's a three-dimensional object, but we're drawing side views of it: a side view, a front view, and a top view. So those three views will be in 2 dimensions, even though it's a three-dimensional object. So let's get started. We're going to first open up our layers property. So we'll type layers followed by enter. Again, we've done this a few times. Yours looks different from mine. What you want to find the new layer icon. We're going to add 2 layers. So the first one, we're going to name it construction. And change its size to 0.00 millimeters. Do that again. And this should be continuous. All right. The next layer we're going to add is the object layer. You'll see a couple times throughout this drawing we'll flip back and forth between the two. Alright, and again, continuous is already selected. So we can turn these layers on and off by clicking these circles. I believe you have a light bulb. We can also change which layer we're working in at any given time. So you come in this menu, I double click. Right, it'll tell me. Alright, so right now you can see I'm clearly working in the construction layer. Right now I'm still working in the construction layer, but I'm now working in the object layer. So we're going to begin in the construction layer. We can go ahead and close this. Alright, we want to make sure ortho mode down here, ortho mode is turned on. And we're going to make our first line, a construction line. So we're going to type X line for this one. Press enter. All right. Anywhere on this left side will be fine. Just come in, click down in the lower left corner. And because the ortho mode's on, it's going to create it straight up for us. I'm going to come back down. And so this obviously is our vertical line. Now we're going to create a horizontal construction line. All right, and now press escape. Let's try that again. Next line. I can do. Okay, there we go. I'll zoom out a little bit. We're going to use the offset tool now. So let's type offset. We're going to do this a few times. So just bear with it. Offset. Specify the offset distance. The first distance will be 100. We're going to offset this vertical line. So let's click it. There's our 100 unit offset. Good. All right. Let's escape, or you can hit enter. We're going to go back into the offset menu. This time the distance is going to be 75. We're going to offset the horizontal line up 75. All right, I'll zoom out just a little bit here. All right, so we're going to, now there's a series of lines that we're going to have to create. I'll just pull them up quickly right here. Notice this point here corresponds to this point here, so hopefully that'll help you figure this out. Here's the first offset, 100, so now we have to do a 35 and a 64. You'll notice going vertically, we had 75, 35, 64. So we'll do these two 35 offsets since they're the same, and then we'll do the two 64 offsets. So let's go ahead and offset. First one we're going to do is 35. Can offset this one to the right, and then we're going to offset this one up. All right, we can press enter, offset again. This time the unit is 64. This is in millimeters, by the way, by default. So now we're going to offset this one to the right again, 64, and this one's going to go up 64, even though we can't see it. We'll zoom out, and there it is. All right, so we're really going to be working within this figure right here. And again, you'll see more of that as we go. So let's go over to let's go back to layers. Now we're going to make our object the one we're working in. One of the interesting things, I forgot to mention this before, but you can change the layer color if you want, especially as we're new at this. You can just see it a little more clearly. So we can clearly see there's the construction layer. I've turned off the construction layer. You'll click the light bulb. Now we're working in the object layer. So let's close this again. I'm going to use our line tool to trace out this box. Now again, you can tell because I changed colors. You can see which one we are creating. Now, if you remember in the layers menu, we set the green to 0.00 and the white to 0.3, but they look the same. We just have to come down here, the show hide line weight, turn it on, and there you go. Now you can see that that's a heavier line. All right. So we next want to trace out. There's two more boxes. Hopefully this will be easy to remember. The first one we just made down below is the front view. The one I'm creating right now is the top view of our object, and finally over here will be the side view. So that sets us up to start creating our three views. All right, so now that we have our three views set up, we're going to come back into the layers menu, and we can go ahead and shut off the construction layer. For now, we'll be working here. So in the front view, we're going to use the offset tool to create two new lines. So the distance is going to be 22 for the first one. You can click the horizontal line here and come up 22. Press enter. Come back into the offset tool. This offset will be 15 millimeters. Click the vertical line and offset that line. All right. The next thing we want to do is trim this up. So escape from there, trim. I'm going to cut out. Whoops. So I always make that mistake. Remember, trim. Press enter again to select all objects so we can work on any of them. And we're going to trim this up here. All right. One more time with the offset tool. It's going to be 16. So type in 16, press enter, and we're going to offset this guy here. All right. So now we're going to be working in the top view. So that's this one here. We're going to create some offsets up here. So offset. The first offset distance will be 15. We'll offset this vertical line 15, and then we'll offset this side 15. So far pretty symmetrical. Press enter to exit out of there. Offset again. This one's going to be from the top horizontal line 26 units. So we're going to offset this one down 26. Again, press enter, offset again. We're going to offset this line 12 units. So 1, 2, 12, enter, create that. All right, to wrap this one up, we have some trimming to do. So we'll come in with our trim tool. This time we're going to trim. Again, as I said before, I always do that. Trim, enter, trim, trim. All right, now we've created almost a sword. I'm going to come back in with our offset tool. Our distance this time will be 16. Offset this one, 16, and this one, 16. Exit out. And again, we have a little bit of trimming to do. I'll hit trim, enter, enter again. This time we're gonna cut out in here. This is good, and this is good. Oh, sorry, those are going. Okay. So we're not quite done. Obviously, we still have a few more steps to go. But the next thing we want to do, we want to come back down here and turn ortho mode off. We're going to use the line. So draw a line. We're going to click this end point right here. Start moving the cursor up. Make sure you're going nice and straight on that white line. Type 40 and press enter. So that puts us just above this offset we had created before. What we want to do, we don't want to click anywhere. Just bring the cursor up, line it up with this endpoint. Again, don't click. This actually just gives us kind of a way to make an arc, right? So it's going to be based off this point we're hovering over. It comes straight down. Where they intersect, we're going to click. Alright, we can go ahead and press escape. There we are, just a little bit further after creating that angled line. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do now is go back into layers and turn on our construction layers again. We're going to need them, and we can double click. We're going to be working inside of the construction layer. So we can close this, use the line tool, and create yourself a slanted line. It's just the first of many lines we're about to create. So next, we're going to go back with X line. Remember, this creates our construction lines. Press enter. This time around, though, you'll notice there were some options here. You're going to go ahead and click the HOR for horizontal. Press enter. And we're going to use some of these lines here actually to line this up. So we're going to create 4 lines up top here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to create 2 down here. 1 lined up with this offset, and 1 lined up right there. All right, now we can go ahead and press escape. Next thing we want to do is create another offset. No, come back into layers first. Set our object layer as a current layer. Close this. Offset. And here, where it says specify offset distance or through erase layer, we're going to type through. We're going to click the horizontal line here. and we're going to click this endpoint. So we've created this offset line that's lined up with this line here. All right. So the next thing we want to do, we can create some, so offset again. No, sorry, skipped ahead. So we're going to come back to our construction line, X line. We have to create 4 lines here. We can do 1. And notice what I did. I forgot to change the layer. So let's Command Z that. Command Z. Go back into layers. Construction. I did this a little backwards. I did skip a step. So I'm going backwards here. So X line again. This time we're going to choose VER for vertical. That'll eliminate some problems. And we're going to draw 4 vertical lines where these intersect. 3 and 4. All right, and now we have some trimming to do. See if I can get this right the first time. It does get a little complicated. So where these connect, enter to select all, and we're going to trim the remaining line there. This one goes over first line, second line, trim the rest. This one follows the same pattern. First line, second line, third line, trim the rest. Trim the rest. We can get rid of anything above here. Come back in, and these are not connected. Okay, those aren't letting me get rid of them. So just come in with the erase tool and get rid of those. Okay, so there we go. Now we can jump back to where we were before. So we're going to come back into layers, go back into our object layer by double clicking it. You'll see why we made some of these lines in a minute. We're going to create some diagonal lines from this bottom to the top. And then again from this bottom to the top. I'm going to come back in. So here's the first line, the second line. We're going to draw it up to the top line and down. All right, and now back to our trusty trim tool. Trim, enter, enter again. Gonna get rid of a few lines in here. See, we're leaving just a little piece behind, so we can get rid of that and that. Zoom back out a little bit. Go back into our layers. Turn off our construction lines. And there we go. We've created the 3 views of, let me pull this object up again, of this object. So you can start to see it, right? This line here corresponds with this line. You can see these chamfered edges, right, are here. Looking at it from the top, this is exactly what you'd see, kind of a straight line here with this. You can't tell it's slanted, but you get the idea, all right? So this is just one way to start thinking about a variety of objects and really relative or rather important aspects of thinking about these objects as three-dimensional, but looking at them from a two-dimensional aspect. As always, thank you, and good luck drawing this one.